Alright, I was just goofing around today and I thought I'd make another video on some bayonets. Just a few bayonets I have, and I mean, I'm not really, some people would probably look at this and say you're like a hardcore collector. I mean, not really. I mean, I do like them. I think they're interesting. I like the history of them. I like reading about the history, seeing different kinds, and just learning about things in general as far as guns and accessories. I'm sure there's people that have, 10 times what I have and definitely know 10 times what I know. But I was just going to do a basic overview on some of the German, bayonets that I have, and just talk about the German. Actually, the most, well-known type is the, it's called the SG 84-98-3. Or SG, I can't pronounce it, but it stands for like sidearm. 84/98 is the model, and then 3 is the pattern. That's the third pattern, and that's what the four right here. That's what these are. And I have a couple other bayonets laying out just for example purposes. This is a Yugoslavian bayonet that's commonly used on the M48 Yugoslavian guns, and it has a you can see it has the factory 44 marked on it there, Yugoslavian. This is a Czech bayonet, and see CSZ there, and so these are similar, I guess some people would say patterns to the German ones, because they all sort of mount the same way. The interesting thing, or the thing I guess that makes the German ones stand out, is whereas these have a barrel lug, the Germans don't have a barrel lug. They're fully supported just by the underlug on the rifle. And the rifle I got back there, that's a Yugoslavian. Some people call it a capture. Some people, I don't know how you can tell if it's a capture, just a refurb or what, but it was a German K98, and the Yugoslavians got their hands on it somehow, either war reparations or capturing it. And as you can see there, the bayonet lug, it doesn't, it's made to fully support the bayonet without having to rely on the barrel lug to support the bayonet. So just a few things about them. The first knife bayonet was when the Mauser, the German model, I'm talking about the German ones, the model 1871, went into a repeating rifle in 1884. That's where you get the first number, the 84. And then it's, the famous rifle that the Germans had, the first, for the First World War, was the 1898 Mauser rifle, and that's when they went to the underlug mount with no muzzle ring. So the 1884-98, the next thing that came out was the second pattern, and what they did there is they changed the grips, and they also added the sheet metal flash guard. And as you can see on these bayonets, see they have a sheet metal flash guard right there, whereas these other ones don't. And actually this is one here, this is actually a Yugoslavian rework, and it doesn't have the sheet metal flash guard on. I don't know if they took that off or what, but the sheet metal flash guard was put on there mainly because it didn't really have anything to do with this particular rifle. And as a matter of fact, all these bayonets will fit on this rifle perfectly. But as you can see, the sheet metal, it doesn't really do anything. It doesn't really have any advantage for this rifle, but they had a lot of what they call the CAR 98As or 98AZs, which is, I got a picture one here, which is this rifle right here. And as you can see, the bayonet lug right there. So if you put the bayonet on there, quite a bit of the bayonet's going to get some muzzle blast on it, and that's what they were, trying to prevent, because I guess there were still several, quite a bit of those rifles still being used in battle. And there's so many different manufacturers, there's so many different markings, and there's so many different things that you can learn about these. It's kind of crazy. But just a few more brief things. There's 3 different marking ways that they use. The first was number codes, and as you can see hopefully on this one, there's an S, which actually the S stands for small arms. Then there's the maker number, which is 155, and 155 is ENF Holster. And then some of these will have another code after the 55, which designates what year it was made. But this one actually has the year right there, 1937. So the letter codes were used up until 36, and then after that they started putting them on the spine right there of the bayonet. But basically the reason they gave all the manufacturers codes like 155 is they were still under the Treaty of Versailles whenever they first started reworking these and rearming back up, and they didn't want the people to know where they were made or be able to trace back who was making them as easy, so that's why they put the codes on them. And then in 36, I guess they fully renounced the treaty, and then they started putting, after that, commercial trademarks on them. The companies that made them, they didn't care who anybody knew who they were, so they started putting commercial trademarks. And as you can see, there's one right there. That's Elite Diamond. I don't know if I'm probably not pronouncing any of these right, but they actually made bicycles, one of the oldest bicycle manufacturers, and they made bayonets. So the number codes were basically used from 34 to 37. Then the commercial codes were from 37 to 40, 41, somewhere in there. And as you can see, this right there, 1940 is when that one was made. And then later they did a letter markings, which and then that also had the year on them, like that right there. That's a 42 ASW, and ASW is an ENF Holster, and then this is a 43 CVL, and let's see, that's a some other things I can't pronounce. WKC was the trademark for that one. But anyways, those are just some different bayonets that I have, some different history on them. I guess when they went to the letter marks, they did it to try to hide the plants that they were being manufactured in again. But I mean, it didn't really matter, I guess, because the Allied forces they knew where they were all at. They were all in a certain area. Solingen, I don't know, I can't pronounce any of this stuff right, but they pretty much knew where they were at, but it wasn't like a big a big target for them. They were more concerned, I guess, bayonets. They weren't really concerned with the bayonets as much. But if you can see those, you'll see those on most of the bayonets. Now this Yugoslavian rework here, they've actually scrubbed them off of there when they reworked it. Although they did leave some of the markings on there, but you'll usually see those on there. Then also on the scabbards, usually there at the end, you'll see the Waffen amped, or the it's the inspector mark on them, and those are usually things you can find. And I've really, like I said, this is the bayonets I have, the German ones. I'm sure there's people that have a lot more, but it's just an interesting thing to learn about history. It's an interesting hobby to get into, and hopefully, somebody watching this video, this is just a brief introduction to the German bayonets. Sometimes you can find them, like this Yugoslavian one. I just recently got this from Classic Firearms. Well, I mean, that's a rework, but it's the original German manufacturer. They just reworked it, but I got that recently from Classic Firearms. And you can just look around, you'll find them different places, and sometimes they won't be in real good shape. Sometimes the blades will be sharpened and different things. But there's so many different manufacturers, and the website I would definitely recommend is worldbayonets.com. Worldbayonets.com, and they've got a lot of good information on there. They've got a lot of good stuff. It has all the markings, the years of production, and all that. So check that out. I'll try to put a link down here, and hopefully this video has been informative, and maybe you've learned a little bit, and maybe you'll get into collecting bayonets or just reading about them and learning about history. That's mainly why I do it. Thanks for watching.